Mr. President, stop chastising us. Stop being condescending to these activists on the ground who have fought courageously in Minneapolis and in Philadelphia and in Baltimore and in LA and all around the country and indeed around the world to fight for a world without police. Get on board. Help us. Use your extraordinary platform and bully pulpit to help create that world, if you believe in it. And if you don't, get out the way and let us do it. President Obama has been on book tour lately, and he has been giving a lot of really interesting interviews talking about the Trump administration, the Democratic Party, and the future of social movements. But he said something the other day that really was off base and really irritated me and a whole lot of other people on the left. He said,
I guess you can use a snappy slogan like defund the police, but you know you've lost a big audience the minute you say it, which makes it a lot less likely that you're actually going to get the changes you want done. The key is deciding, do you want to actually get something done, or do you want to feel good among the people you already agree with?
The president could not be more wrong. First of all, the people who are losing these elections in the 2020 race, the Democrats, were not people who are running on defund the police or who got isolated because they refused to run on defund the police. Almost nobody was running on a defund the police platform. There were a few people who advocated it publicly, like Cori Bush in Missouri. Guess what? She won. But most people were not doing that. So it's a straw man from the beginning. But also, this idea that we could get the goals accomplished of a defunding movement or an abolition movement if we just sat at the table and were nice and warm and fuzzy is absolutely off base and contradicted by history. During the Obama administration, he said we need to sit down and reform. During Bush and Clinton, sit down and reform. And the police are still killing us. It does not work. Defund the police is a clear call. People say, well, if you have to explain what you really mean, it's not a good slogan. No, the problem isn't the explanation. Defund the police means exactly what it says. It is clear. It is unambiguous. Defund the police. Take the money out of police budgets. Now, where we put them can be an interesting conversation, whether we invest in schools, whether we invest in mental health resources, whether we invest in drug treatment. We can have that conversation. But the core is to defund the police because the police are operating as an occupying force in our neighborhoods. The police are a site of terror in our neighborhoods. The police are escalating violence at moments where we need it de-escalated. This is a very clear critique and a very clear call. The problem isn't our failure to articulate it. And this idea that if only we could say it warmer and fuzzier, if only we could be nicer about it, they'd give it to us, is also ridiculous. Be honest about this. Y'all don't like defund the police because we're asking you to defund the police. Don't make us think the problem is us and our branding campaign. The problem is y'all don't want to do it because y'all believe in policing. You all can't imagine a world without police. You all can't imagine a world without policing. You all can't imagine a world without prisons. And I'm not saying that to be condescending or lefter than thou. I'm saying that is the fundamental problem. It's our job to stoke the imagination, to get you to see it, to get you to believe that another future, another world is possible. But we got to be honest about what the issue here is. This is a failure of imagination. This is a failure of political will. This is not a failure of us saying the right words perfectly. Because every day somebody's dying. Every day somebody's the victim of brutality and excessive force. Every day someone's needs aren't being met. And it's because we live in a society that has prioritized police and prisons over people. And that's where the work is. Imagine telling people in the 18th or 19th century, oh, the problem is when you say end slavery now or abolition now, it's too aggressive a campaign. You should say better wages for black people, better jobs, end cotton, right? I mean, that's not how it works. At some point, people have to be ready for a bold claim, a radical demand. End slavery was a radical demand. Women's suffrage now was a radical demand. And please don't gaslight us into thinking that the reason that it took hundreds of years to get those things was because we didn't use the right words. It was no, the people in power didn't want to give up power. But we got to make the demand, and then we got to hit the ground to do it, to make it happen. So, Mr. President, stop chastising us. Stop being condescending to these activists on the ground who have fought courageously in Minneapolis and in Philadelphia and in Baltimore and in LA and all around the country and indeed around the world to fight for a world without police. Get on board. Help us. Use your extraordinary platform and bully pulpit to help create that world, if you believe in it. And if you don't, get out the way and let us do it.